Good. Thank you all for being here. Last night was one of those nights that, as we went through, we knew that it was going to be an early morning, and there was going to be a lot of cleanup to be done. And we are very, very proud of the people who are here in the city of Huntsville and the job that they've done, the job that the neighbors have done, the citizens have done, but especially the jobs that done by Public Works and by landscaping, by HIMSI, by Huntsville Utilities, who will speak in just a minute, by all the groups out there who contributed to making to our police force and our firefighters. All those people pitched in and made this a community effort to make sure that we got through this as easily as possible and as quickly as possible. We have today speaking for us just to kind of tell us about the effort that has been put forward. We have our city administrator, John Hamilton. He's going to be speaking for Public Works and Landscape Management and Maple Hill Cemetery, which all falls under his purview. Huntsville Police Chief Kirk Giles, Huntsville Madison County EMA Director Jeff Birdwell, and Huntsville Utilities President and CEO Wes Kelly, who probably has not had any sleep for about 48 hours. So he's been living on diet Dr. Peppers. So I will ask each of you, we'll let them each come up in line and then do questions afterwards. But we want to thank you for coming out, for being part of the media, for spreading the message last night. And the message was, we've been through some tough times, but we're coming out on the other side of it. And everybody be patient, be calm. We will get through this. John?
Good afternoon. What happened last night, and really kind of, if you back up from there, what happened throughout the day is a classic example of what we had to be prepared for and the way in which we prepare. So, a quick thank you to the weather services from all of our local stations, the National Weather Service and others that put a lot of effort into making sure that the EMA and then all of the city departments are aware of what they anticipate to come. This is obviously the kind of thing where you hope that they're wrong. But last night they weren't wrong. We in fact did have a significant event that impacted a swath of our city. And so because of the preparation we're able to do with that kind of advanced warning, this was really kind of a classic example of how we deal with it. So Public Works, just like Huntsville Utilities, will talk to their side, and Landscape and some of the other city departments have crews positioned, prepared for the event to pass through, and then able to get out and work quickly. So if you're in that affected area, if you stayed awake, you probably saw Public Works out there beginning work as early as 2-3 o'clock in the morning this morning, already starting to focus on what their priorities are. So I want to touch on those priorities so you can understand what you should expect from the city departments. So their focus is in the public infrastructure, right? So their primary task is out there and close or open the roads that are closed because of the trees, render that public infrastructure safe. But there's a complication that comes with that. Oftentimes those trees are tangled up in utility lines, and so they may have to bypass some of those situations until Huntsville Utilities has the opportunity to come in and ensure those particular situations are rendered safe. But once they do, Public Works, Landscape, the companies that they've contracted with to augment their capability will get in and continue to clear those roads. But I want to emphasize that what their job is to focus on the public infrastructure, right? So don't be surprised if you ask one of the Public Works guys out there working in the street in front of your house if he'll come clear your yard, and he says no, because number one, he's not allowed to, but that also pulls him away from the focus that they must have and the priorities they must have on clearing that public infrastructure. So Public Works, the city staff, Huntsville Utilities, and our partners on the commercial side are focused on the public infrastructure, and then our citizens have to focus on their own private yards. And so obviously there's work that you do with your insurance company, and then you may contract with someone or do the work yourself, but ultimately you are responsible for what is happening in your own yard, on your own house. And so we ask you to focus your attention there and allow Public Works to focus out on the roads and streets. And if you have to get out and about, watch out for the areas where they're working. Those roads that are temporarily closed so they can accomplish their work, find ways around, give yourself a little bit extra time to get to your destination, because there are streets that are still affected by the event. So be patient with them, with Huntsville Utilities, as they're replacing poles and replacing power lines and all those kinds of things. You do need some patience as you just work your way around. One of the important things, though, is you're clearing your yard. And I'll tell you, I live in the affected area, so I also have the task of going and clearing my yard and putting stuff out on the street. Our sanitation department will get that stuff cleared. Obviously, the volume that we're talking about they will be several weeks behind getting through this backlog. That we absolutely know it's going to be the case. We ask that you just continue to put your debris out there at the street as you always do. Do it in accordance with the rules that you're familiar with for the way we serve your homes, and they will get around. You may not get served on your normal day for this kind of debris pickup. They are going to work their way around and continue to clear these items, and obviously you may be putting additional piles out. They'll continue to work it until it's done. So continue to put stuff out there safely at the curb in front of your home. I also want to talk about the cemetery very quickly because this is an important piece of public infrastructure to our community. Maple Hill Cemetery was significantly impacted by this event. There are a significant number of trees that were downed inside the cemetery, and obviously that affects your loved one's gravesite. And so we do need you to be patient. Right now, the cemetery is closed to public access. We've had people trying to come in and check on their loved ones, and it is not a safe situation for you to be in there. So the cemetery staff has locked all the gates and asked for those who oftentimes access it through those pedestrian gates to not attempt to access the cemetery. They're working their way through to get all the trees and the debris cleared out. We know that there is pretty significant damage to a lot of your monuments. All right, we understand that. Our staff, as they get the area safe, will then begin doing those assessments block by block, and they will reach out to the families affected and work with you on the repairs and things necessary for your particular situation. So it will take a while to do this. It may be a couple weeks before you get that phone call. Just understand they are working their way through it in an incremental way, and ultimately you will get notified if there's this issue with your particular gravesite. And of course, once the area is rendered safe, it will reopen. You'll have access to come in as you typically would. But right now, the public safety is our number one priority there, getting that area cleaned up so that so the public can get back in when it's safe. So again, a big thank you to our teams that are out there. Public Works guys, the Huntsville utility guys, landscape guys have been working through the night and throughout the day. They're doing it on limited sleep, but they understand what the priorities are for the safety of our community, and we'll continue to work through until we're completed. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I want to start off and echo what Mr. Hamilton and Mayor Battle said, and thank all the different city departments and other organizations that were very beneficial and present during this event. And so as far as the police department is concerned, one of the things I wanted to touch on was when this incident, when it started happening, of course we know it was a long span of time. Approximately, I checked on how many calls for service we gathered between 7 o'clock last night and 10 o'clock this morning. And we had 332 calls for service. Now, you may ask, and before you ask, what is the average number of calls for service? I can't tell you that because there's no such thing as an average day in law enforcement. But I can tell you the majority of those calls for service, one of them was alarms going off, which was sometimes weather related, and also traffic control. And we were able to do those things. And because as the weather deteriorated over that period of time, we held over our second shift officers, which we held them over for about an hour till we can stabilize things and really get a grasp of what was going on. So last night I responded to the EMA's EOC, and so myself and our public works director went out and rode around for a little bit, wanted to try to get an idea of the damage. And what I'm leading to this is, even as close to midnight, there was other people riding around looking at damage. And the thing is, you couldn't see anything because it's dark. There's no power in the area. So I would remind you, please, to stay out of the areas that are affected, and continue to respect that. If you want to go help somebody, that's one thing, certainly. But understand there's some areas like they refer to that are not safe for you to go, and we're knocking those out as we go. It's a coordinated effort. Also, keep in mind, as you see power comes on in certain areas, and by that I mean you'll see an officer directing traffic. There's been incidents where the power will come on, and then we pull off once we determine it's going to stay on, and then we get a glitch or something. I can't explain that part, but then we'll have to come back. So my point is to please make sure, even though you saw the power on 15, 20 minutes ago, make sure you're paying attention at the traffic light is cycling. And if it's not, treat it like a four-way stop. So again, I want to thank all the other departments that were there, and it was a coordinated effort, and one that I'm very proud of. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. Kind of want to do two things here. One is try to lay out a timeline of what happened yesterday and early into this morning, and also talk about some of the steps moving forward. For lack of a better word, we'll call it the recovery stage. So yesterday, the Huntsville-Madison County Emergency Operations Center was activated at 7:45 p.m. There were a total of 4 severe thunderstorm warnings and 9 tornado warnings issued for Madison County between that time and this morning. In addition, there were 3 flash flood warnings issued. The first damage report came in from the city of Madison in the Oakland Trace subdivision of a tree on a house at 9:20 p.m. Preliminary reports from the National Weather Service just a few minutes ago indicated there was a confirmed tornado in the 5 Points area and southeast Huntsville. Storm intensity is yet to be determined. So, like I said, we activated about 7:45 yesterday. Huntsville Police, Huntsville Fire, Huntsville Public Works, City of Madison, and the Madison County Sheriff's Office were present in the Emergency Operations Center to coordinate response. The collaboration will continue with these agencies in the days to come to recover from the damage left by the storms. According to HIMSI, there weren't any transports to the hospital due to the storms. Madison County volunteer organizations active in disasters, VOAD, will also be responding in the days to come to assist with official damage assessments to try to get a hold of what kind of financial burden that we suffered. Drone technology currently is being used to identify damage in the affected areas. Additionally, Madison County VOAD will be in the downtown area to assist with tree removal and tarp placement. So I want to kind of clarify that, as Mr. Hamilton mentioned, that the Public Works Department could not go on public property. We do have an organization, our local VOAD can do that. They do not charge. So we will have them out there, but the key thing is as soon as it's safe for them to enter. Is my understanding, there's still a lot of power lines down. There's a lot of trees blocking the road, so on and so forth. So they will be there. We just ask that you be patient, and we'll get there as soon as we can. Just as a note, to identify themselves, they will have badges that will identify themselves as a volunteer of Huntsville-Madison County EMA. So that will be important for you to know. So just one other thing, and I think this is important, and I want to put this out. So what are we going to do moving forward? Well, again, we're going to focus on the hard-hit areas, but also, as you can imagine, there's a lot of damage in certain places all across the county. So if you have and need assistance with tree removal, tarp replacement and stuff like that, I want to give you a number. It is the Crisis Cleanup Hotline. That number is 256-207-5832, or you can visit alhelp.org. What you'll need to do is give your name, contact information, address, and what your need is. And someone will contact you to see if that need can be met. Thank you.
Good afternoon. From when the last of the tornado sirens sounded last night, Huntsville Utilities has been on the job trying to restore power as quickly as possible to the areas impacted. At the peak, over 10,000 customers lost power. That represents just under 5% of the customers served by Huntsville Utilities. Currently, we have 165 separate outage locations. Of course, we've had many thousand phone calls, and there's still about 3,300 customers without power at this time. But that 165 outage locations means that's 165 different crews, trips that will have to go to resolve the power problems at those locations. That will take some time to work our way across the system. Currently, we have 12 poles that are down. We have 12 poles that are damaged. We have 28 problem tree areas. We have 47 lines that are down. We have 4 low-hanging lines. The restoration work is currently being conducted by 21 different crews from Huntsville Utilities and 7 crews from contractors that we have brought in to assist us. And very importantly, we are also getting support from Decatur Utilities, who has provided 4 crews, Athens Utilities, who have also provided 4 crews, and Albertville Utilities, which have provided 2 crews. And we are very grateful for the support that we're getting from the surrounding communities. So as I mentioned, right now we have about 3,300 customers still without power. That's about 1.5% of Huntsville Utilities customers. While the damage was widespread across the entire county, except maybe the southeast portion of the county, obviously the hardest hit area was the 5 Points, Old Town, Blossomwood area. We're working diligently, maximum effort right now to restore power to that area. We have a tremendous amount of resources focused on that area, working very diligently to get power restored tonight to as many customers as possible in that affected area. Of course, our biggest challenge is always to keep our crews safe and the public safe. That should go without saying, but it won't go without saying because we're going to talk about it, because public safety and the safety of our crews is incredibly important, and we appreciate the public's understanding about that. These repairs take time, especially given the widespread nature, and our crews are working to spread across the county to address those issues. While we are focused in the 5 Point area, we are not focused exclusively there. We have crews working issues across the county. So we hope to get everyone's power back on as quickly as possible. This is an event that we have been working all night, all day, all night tonight, and into the day tomorrow, I'm sure. And I appreciate the dedication of the Huntsville Utilities men and women, but also our important partnerships with the city and with emergency personnel. Thank you very much.
Questions?
Yes, Colonel, you had some damage done to your house. Can you elaborate on that a little bit, please, sir?
Yeah, so I think my situation is probably fairly typical. Large trees, because they all now have leaves on them, are basically turn into wind sails, and so several trees uprooted, pretty large trees. And when I look, just kind of going around the neighborhood, everybody around me had the same situation. So we're all kind of in the same boat together, dealing with large trees. In some cases, homes damaged. In other cases, not. For me, it was pretty limited damage to the house itself. We were fortunate that they mostly just fell into the yard. But other people around me have much more significant damage. So what I saw today was, in addition to homeowners out there dealing with it, a lot of people just coming in to help, volunteers and organizations like that. So all that's greatly appreciated. But the number of trees that are down, blocking the roads, blocking driveways, those sorts of things is kind of what's typical through that Old Town, 5 Points, Blossomwood area, and then even some damage, obviously, across the mountain over into the Hampton Cove area as well. So.